This is where careers stall, not because the work is too hard, but because leaders change their behavior and nothing seems to happen. They speak differently in meetings, they prepare differently, they show up differently, and their colleagues still describe them the same way they did 6 months ago. Understanding why that happens and how long it actually takes is what keeps people from quitting too early. This is where most people give up, not because the work is too hard, not because they lack discipline, but because they change their behavior and nothing seems to happen. They speak differently in meetings, they prepare differently, they show up differently, and their colleagues still describe them the same way they did 6 months ago. That experience, genuine change met with no recognition, is the number one reason executive presence development stalls. I have watched this pattern unfold dozens of times. A leader commits to the work. They start narrating their thinking in meetings instead of just announcing conclusions. They practice restraint. They adapt their communication for the audience. And 6 weeks in, their manager still introduces them to the board with the same caveats as before. Their peers still describe them using the same words they used last quarter. The leader has genuinely changed their behavior. The organization has not updated its narrative about them. That mismatch between actual change and perceived change is where people quit. Here is what you need to know, and it is the most important timeline insight in this course. Behavioral change often happens within weeks of focused practice. Perception change typically takes 3 to 6 months. Those are two different timelines, and they measure two fundamentally different things. One measures what you are doing differently. The other measures what the organization has noticed. If you are only watching for perception change in the first month, you are measuring the wrong variable at the wrong time, and you will conclude the work is not producing results when it absolutely is. Organizations build narratives about their leaders, your direct reports, your peers, the senior team. They have a mental model of who you are and how you are. That model was built over months or years of observing you. It does not update in real time. It updates slowly, with resistance, and only after consistent evidence accumulates. You changed last Tuesday. They are still responding to the version of you from last quarter. The leader changes first. The organization's narrative catches up later. And the gap between those two timescales creates a frustrating middle period where you have genuinely changed, but the people around you have not updated their story about you. Here's what I want you to think about. If you have tried to work on your executive presence before, and most of you have, did you give it enough time for the perception to catch up? Or did you try something for a few weeks, nobody mentioned it, and you went back to how you were? If that sounds familiar, you now know why. And there is a deeper problem with self-assessment here. Self-reported improvement is unreliable for executive presence, precisely because the core issue is a disconnect between your internal experience and external perception. A leader whose processing is invisible to the room cannot accurately assess whether it has become more visible. The blind spot is built into the problem. This is why measurement timing matters so much. Behavioral milestones show up in weeks 4 through 8. They tell you the work is happening. You are doing different things in meetings. Your preparation approach has shifted. Your contribution pattern has changed. Perception milestones show up in months 3 through 6. They confirm the gap is actually closing. Stakeholders describe you differently. Your 360 scores shift. The 6-month 360-degree reassessment is the standard verification point. Both need to be measured at different points with different instruments. If you are only measuring perception in the first quarter and concluding that nothing is working, you are running the wrong test at the wrong time. Now you have the frame. Executive presence is a perception gap, not a personality trait. The trait-based model describes it. The gap model diagnoses it, and the timeline tells you how long the work takes. The next question is, what does the gap actually look like in practice? There are 4 patterns that show up again and again in coaching engagements. We are going to look at the first 2